Okay, we'll get started, and I'm showing you my screen now. Okay. Okay. So this workshop is on creating and organizing activities within weekly topics or modules. My name is Nicole Martone. I teach English at Danbury High School. So the objectives for today include essentially two things. One, you're going to how to create activities such as assignments, questions, quizzes, and student groups. And within those activities, you'll be able to add instructions and resources and materials as attachments. And I'll show you how to organize these activities into weekly topics or modules or units of study. And basically, you'll just situate these activities under those topics. And feel free to ask any questions as I provide the workshop. I'll do my best to answer them. You may want to use the chat feature since a lot of us. Okay, I will begin by showing you how to do a basic assignment. And I put together some folders in my Google Drive with assignments already made. So if you go to your Google Classroom, I actually had a classroom a couple of years ago of students who've graduated, and so I'm going to use that Google Classroom. There's still a few students who are still assigned to it. That way my current students aren't getting alerts and being confused. So there are two places that you'll primarily be living in Google Classroom. This is your stream, which is where all the announcements and alerts will be posted, and then the classwork tab where you'll be building the activities. And I already added a couple units here. I'll show you how to do this today. Students are currently in Unit 4, Modernism and Foreign Literature, junior year, and they'll be moving into Unit 5, 20th Century Successes and Challenges. So essentially the activities I'll be showing you today relate to those units. Okay. So the first thing I'll show you is how to create an assignment. So if you look at this Create tab, you'll see all the kinds of assignments that you can develop. So we'll just do the basic assignment now. I'll show you how to create a quiz. I'll show you how to post a question. At this point, I think many are already posting the attendance question. Are you present in the day? And the students are answering yes. So what I'll show you is a discussion question that students can respond to. And if you've ever taught, I taught at the community college for a number of years. It's very similar to Blackboard, where students can respond to each other and edit their responses and that sort of thing, kind of like a blog. And then material I use if I just want to post material under a unit or a topic, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. So the first assignment I'm going to do will be about this poem Harlem by Langston Hughes. Okay, so in my drive here, I already have put together an assignment example for you. Here's my Harlem poem. Hopefully you're all familiar with how to create a Google Docs. So you can build this within that form, but it's much easier to already have a document created. So I am going to share this document with my students. Oh, I have to be here. By adding the link. You can also get it from your Google Drive. And I am going to give it a title. Oftentimes, you can just take it from what you've already created in your Google Drive. And the instructions, if you want to include instructions, you may. Here, okay? Now, for my students, a lot of my L students, and just in general, they like to hear it read aloud. So if you want to add any additional attachments, I have here YouTube reading by the author, and I included in here. You can also include it as an attachment. If you want to look for it on YouTube, you know the title, you can do that as well. I'll show you that in a little bit with another poem, okay? Also, for my students, they may need a review of figurative language. So this resource can be helpful to them. So I'll add that link there. And then over here, let's see, a due date. Say I want this tomorrow by 11:59 p.m. You can assign it to all of your students. How many points it's worth, you can say as well. And you hit assign. You can also schedule it for later or save it as a draft. But for now, I'm just going to assign. Okay? So that is how you create an assignment, a basic assignment. I will nestle this under my unit on modernism, okay? And I'm going to go back. Do I have any questions? Okay, no questions. Okay, so do some taking notes so that you can go back and review the steps, because we learn best by doing, of course. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to show you is how to do a discussion question. So this is a great way to make it student-centered in this platform. That's one thing that I feel that is most difficult with this, is that we're losing that interaction to some degree, and how can we create that interaction in this platform? Now our students are getting used to working here full-time in Google Classroom, so that might not be something you want to introduce yet, but it's definitely good to know how to do this for later on when you feel your students are ready and you're ready to incorporate it in. So the question here, now we've been doing the multiple choice one for are you present, and the date, and the students are choosing yes, and we're posting that. So I will show you how to do a discussion question where they can respond to whatever prompt you post, and they can reply to each other, which is kind of nice. And you can even do the teaser just to get the going with, get them used to using it. So I will go back here. I'm going to close out the Hughes work to the discussion question example. So for my next unit 5, students will be looking at this poem titled America by Allen Ginsberg. And there's the poem here and the assignment. And the assignment actually has multiple parts. So I might ask my students to share, I don't know, initial insights about the poem, okay? And I'm going to want to add the link to the poem. And I like to just take the link here right from Google Classroom. If you find this online too, you can take the link from online and add it. I like to use a Google Doc when possible so the students can annotate the poem depending on what I ask them to do. Okay, add link. I might even, I said I'd show you on YouTube, there's actually the author reciting the poem, which is titled Allen Ginsberg Reads America. Oops, really small here. And hit search, it might take a moment or two. And then you can also add that, okay? You might even want to add to the instructions, respond to 2 classmates' responses or something like that to encourage that discussion. When I've done this before at the community college level with Blackboard, I would tell my students to put their initial posts by a certain date and then respond to 2 classmates by another date. That way they can read everyone's and then be able to respond more thoroughly. And they can't see their classmates' responses until they do their initial post. So that's really important to know. And you want to make sure you check that they can reply to each other. If you'd like them to edit their answer or be able to do that, make sure to check as well, okay? Due date, I won't put it here now, but you can select a due date. I'm going to put this under Unit 5. So once you establish topics, which I'll show you more clearly how to do in a couple minutes, you can have it nestled under that topic here. And you can select the students again and how many points. I'm not using the gradebook feature in Google Classroom. I think many of us aren't at this point. We're still using PowerSchool and that sort of thing. But the students, if you want them to know how many points they'll earn with doing this, you can list this here, or you can say ungraded. And again, you can schedule it or just ask. So I'm going to ask, okay? All right, now, if you look here, you can see how many have turned it in, how many have submitted it, turned it in once it's assigned, how many have not, okay? But once you click here, sometimes, depending on how they submit it, you do want to click on the students just to make sure. So I found sometimes it doesn't come in as turned in, which you'll see is listed. It'll be listed like this in green. And they have, so it can be a little tricky like that. But anyhow, and then you'll be able to see what they've said to their peers. So that is a discussion question. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to show you, we've done the assignment, we've done a discussion question, is how to post a quiz. If you wanted to give them a quiz on homework assignment, something like that. So you'll go to create a quiz assignment. Now you could create a quiz under assignment only, but it won't have this built-in feature. Oh, and one of the benefits, didn't mean to click on that so soon. One of the benefits of this feature is that you can import the grade right into the classroom so the students can see their scores right away. If this were in the classroom setting and you had Chromebooks, you could do this lock mode on the Chromebooks so they can't search outside of the Google form and maybe go online and look up answers, which is kind of a neat feature. But since students are working at home on their own devices, that will not work. Okay, so I'm going to title this, even though we're not giving CFAs now in this distance learning experience for our students, but I'm going to title this Unit 4 CFA. Now you can build your quiz in here, but you can also port it Here are different types of questions, but you can also input it from a quiz that you've already made. Okay, so I am going to do that for you today, show you one that's already made. So Martone for CFA, right? Now, I want to import the whole thing. I don't want to make any changes or leave it out. And just click on here. It's there for you. Okay. So when I go back here, I can say, please take this CFA. Maybe a nice positive note. Good luck. And you can give it a deadline. Okay. Tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. Et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And assign it to your students. So I'll show you too how you can import the grades too. So it's just helpful for students to see how they did right away, that kind of thing, that they're sometimes anxious about that. So you could say import grades and we'll just post it. So I should add that is if you have included the answer key within the Google. Okay, so you make sure that it will calculate those answers when you build it. So I'll just do this again for you so you can see. When you go in here, answer key, you want to make sure that you have that, filled out, okay? So that way it scores automatically. Okay.
Nicole, I have a question.
Yes.
So I did it. I pretty much just somewhat followed what you did. I made a quiz, and when I looked to actually grade the students, I couldn't see any of their answers. It just came back as like the assignment was submitted to me, but I couldn't see the work that they had actually done. So what button am I supposed to be pressing? How am I supposed to be viewing the work that they sent back to me?
Okay. Now, this is a quiz you've already administered, so it has responses already. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so then so my understanding has to be built in here initially. So I don't think responses would carry over. So if you've given them a quiz, let's say in the classroom previously, this is a new assessment. It would be a new Google form.
Okay. So when I create my next quiz, how do I make it so that I can see their answers?
So you should be able to see the responses right here.
I think I know what she's asking because I had this issue. Do you mind if I share?
No, go ahead.
So I had this issue as well. So when I created the quiz through Google Forms, in my settings, which is in that key on the right, I hadn't clicked include addresses. So if you go
right here, collect email addresses.
Yes, collect email addresses. So I hadn't clicked that, and I didn't get. So when I got their responses, I could look at it the same 3 ways: individually, summary, or I forget the other one. But I could not see who answered what. I could only see the responses. Is that what you're talking about, Fallon?
So I'm talking that the assignment, I gave this quiz, I spent lots of time on it, and it just came back to me as that they had submitted their quiz, but I couldn't actually see the quiz.
Oh, I know okay. So you have to go into your Google Drive. Sorry, Nicole. Do you mind if I jump in?
No, go ahead.
Hi, honey. It's Stroud. So you have to go to your Google Drive, and you have to click on your form that you created for the quiz. And then you have to go to at the top where it says responses or questions. You have to go to responses, and that's where you'll see it.
Yeah, you'll see that in your initial drive.
But you can't see it from Google Classroom. You have to go into your drive and pull up that document, pull up the form that
Nicole,
you created.
Can you show us? Do you know how to do that?
Do I know how to do that?
Nicole is presenting. Do you know how to do that, Nicole?
So I'll show you from my drive.
There we go.
But I want to make sure. So let's see, Martone, Unit 4, CFI. So when I click on this, you'll see the responses right here. That's what you're saying, correct?
I'm saying that when the assignment came back to me, I could not see any of this at all. It just came back that it was submitted.
Fallon, when we're done, stay on and I'll show you.
So this is something that you gave to them prior to the Google Classroom.
No, this is I did a Google form on Google Classroom, and when I did it exactly as you said, but when they had submitted it to me, I wasn't actually able to see their quiz. It just said that the form was submitted, so I couldn't see any of their answers.
So in Google Classroom, what she saw was, I think what she's explaining, when she was in her Google Classroom and she saw that they turned it in, then the list comes up with all the assignments that were turned in, and she clicked on that and it wasn't there. And it won't be there found. You have to go to your drive. I know exactly where, yeah. Okay. And I know Nicole does too.
Okay.
So they turn it in, but to actually see the responses, you have to go to the document.
Okay.
You should be able to import their scores though, but in terms of initial responses and which ones they got wrong and right, that's something that you'll need to look here for. Hopefully answered your question, Fallon, the best we can today.
I'll check in with Jen later and I'll see what she says, because I still am a little bit confused, but that's okay. Keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just thought maybe everybody was having this problem.
No problem at all. Okay. So next thing that, here. Okay. Thing that I'd like to show you today includes, I'm going to have to go back to the Google Classroom. Student groups. Okay, we're at the classwork tab. So again, this would be something that you'd want to wait until students are more comfortable with the platform to do, but it definitely is a way to incorporate more students and engagement. I think that's one of the things when we talk about engagement, wanting to connect with each other as much as possible in this thing. So what you'll do is essentially you'll create an assignment like you normally would. In this case, I have here something from last unit on Death of a Salesman, and it's helpful to put the instructions up for the students. Even maybe the topic here, title. Okay, so this is about the deletion and Death of a Salesman. And of course, you want to add the assignment so they have it. One of the things about student groups is that you still would have to have somebody make a copy and share with the other group members. Unfortunately, there's no other way to do it in the platform, which is kind of some, but depending on your students, definitely doable. And if your students need more support, you might want to add steps on who is going to create the document and share it and that sort of thing. And they can view the file, or you can make a copy for each student. So for any assignment in Google Classroom, for them to send, always make a copy for each student so they can work right in that document. And you would select your students here. So maybe I want to do for a group of students, group 1, act 1, okay, only. And I'm going to pick these 5 students and then assign. So only those students would get the assignment, okay? And then you would do the same thing. You might even want to reuse the post. You can reuse posts. It's taking a while to load. If it were not so slow, I would reuse it. But again, an assignment. And let's see this. And really isolation. And then we'll say group 2, act 2. And again, the instructions, you'd add the assignment and you'd pick your students. And maybe this time I want to do these students, that sort of thing. And then just like with any other assignment, you can give a due date nestled under the topic, that sort of thing. Okay, and assign. So again, the important thing to know here is that one person in that group need to make a copy of it and share it with the rest of the group. Let's see. How are we doing with that? Okay. And the last thing I wanted to show you today is just essentially how to make topics. It's very straightforward. So I would do, whether it be material or an assignment, you can put it under any topic. So we have attendance, for example, every day. So I'll show you what it looks like for my current students. So we see all the days that we've met so far here under attendance, the announcements. You can make a topic for that. So some of the distance learning enrichment work that I assigned. This is what they've done so far with modernism, their last unit on oppressed voices. So you can organize it very easily by topic, just by writing it here and putting whatever materials you need under that. And in terms of materials, I'll show you what I have been doing with my AP students. There are still some online live classes through the College Board. So I've been posting recap presentations under AP online live classes and review as material. Okay. Are you asking like to have an audio, like kind of like a speech to text thing in the assignment? I posted that question.
So when I give, oh, really loud.
Go ahead.
When I give directions and I'm explaining like a lengthy thing, some of my students have trouble with reading. So I wanted it to be able to read to them. I can highlight it. There's some option somewhere and it'll read it to me, but doesn't really benefit me. Is there a way that I can make it so that the directions read to them?
That I don't know. I've been using screencast. There's a read aloud option. Do you want to add that? I haven't used that option. I don't know who that, Mrs. M. So I've been reading directions to the students with screencasts the beginning of each rollout, but I'm not sure about that feature. There's a right click read to text option she's saying here. Read aloud option if you right click. Okay. Oh, nice. Let's see. Let me go back here. Where am I? We'll go back to the original. Start speaking. This one, you're saying?
From.
Okay. So I think that's what she's referring to. Does that help?
Yeah, that'll work. Thank you.
Is there a way we can make groups so when we differentiate, we can click on a group and designate an assignment for them, or do we always have to choose the students? You would need to choose the students to differentiate. You would have to assign that assignment to the students. And unless you roll out several different tasks, like a choice or something, and have them choose, if you send it to everyone as a class. But if you wanted to differentiate, like I showed you, and get up to specific responsibilities or tasks like that, you can do that. Does that answer your question, Jennifer?
Yes, yes, thank you. I was just wondering if there's a feature like I know you're high school, but in elementary school, we use a program called RAS Kids. Are you familiar with that program?
I'm not.
Okay, so there we can create groups. So they're designated as groups. So, I have kids in 4 different reading levels. I can assign assignments based on their reading level and then just grab them as a group and assign them to that one assignment. So they're already grouped. I group them, but then once they're grouped, I can take one assignment and attach it to that one group. So that was what I was wondering, if there's something like that for Google.
Okay, so I understand what you're
thank
saying.
you.
You can, like through Khan Academy, you can assign certain skills to groups of students and that sort of thing through a different, I guess, platform that merges. So there are options with some of the personalized tools out there, like IXL and that sort of thing. But in terms of platform and assigning groups, this is essentially the way to do it. I would like more. So you might want to take what I did with the Death of Salesman Acts 1 and 2. You might want to take something like that and then create a discussion where those students, kind of like a jigsaw, come together and share what they're finding are, so that they're not losing hearing from their classmates and gleaning insights from them. I think, again, as we continue with this model, we can find ways to be creative and make it more again, student-centered and that kind of thing. I think that's where I want students have that dialogue, and that's kind of where I feel that personally I want to continue building and improving upon.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. Are there any other questions? I think I've covered all of the things that I was hoping to today. And one thing I want to make sure we all kind of understand is that, this is a general overview. We know that the best way to learn is by doing, and it'll take some time and practice to master these tools, as we're finding through our discussion today. And so, it takes time, and hopefully you have enough information from the tutorial to start building and improving upon what you're currently doing. And feel free to email me anytime if you have any other questions, or if you'd like me to put some screenshots together on anything that I shared with you today. Okay. All right, everyone, if there are any other questions, have a great day.